Kimihito Kirusu wakes up to find Mia crushing him in her sleep. After escaping, he draws a bath for her to warm up and goes to make breakfast. In the kitchen, he is surprised by Smith, who has come to make sure he is not engaging in any prohibited activities with Mia. After Smith leaves, Mia tries to seduce him, only to accidentally dislocate his shoulder. The two go on a field trip, including a visit to an all-species lingerie shop. Afterwards, they run into a racist couple who harass Mia, and Kimihito has to jump in the way when she tries to strike them with her tail, to keep her from breaking the law. Trying to escape from a curious crowd, they hide in a love hotel, where they are ambushed by the interspecies exchange security squad. However, Smith recognizes them and fixes the situation. Leaving the hotel, they encounter the couple, and when they begin harassing Mia again, Kimihito punches them. At home, Mia resumes her advances on Kimihito, only for them to be interrupted by Smith. Kimihito is kidnapped by Pappy, who brings him to a park where he buys her ice cream. Pappy then takes a bath in a public fountain, where Mia finds them. With various mishaps, the three work together to save a girl who was stuck in a tree. When a policeman arrives, Kimihito claims to be Pappy's host family to keep her from being deported. The officer is skeptical, but Smith arrives with Pappy's papers just in time, and tells Kimihito that she was on her way to make the harpy live with him, and Pappy joins the household. While out grocery shopping, Kimihito collides with Centauria. She becomes convinced that Kimihito is her destined master. Encountering a motorcycle-riding purse snatcher, the two pursue him. They eventually catch him, despite various embarrassing accidents. When the thief tries to attack Centauria with her dropped sword, Kimihito leaps in front of her and takes the blow, but survives due to the sword being a replica. Later, Smith explains that Kimihito riding Centauria could be viewed as akin to rape, since only a centaur's chosen master may ride them. Centauria chooses him as her master, resulting in her joining his household. When Pappy tries to seduce Kimihito during their bath, Centauria rescues him and they flee to the park where they share a tender moment. They are soon followed and interrupted by Mia and Pappy, and the three begin fighting for Kimihito's affection. Smith arrives with a tranquilizer gun to stop them, but accidentally shoots Kimihito instead. When he wakes up at home, the three are apologetic for the harm they have caused him, but he dismisses their worries. Smith then announces that there have been proposed changes to the interspecies exchange bill, and she wants him to marry one of the girls as a test case. That night, Mia arrives in Kimihito's room and tries to seduce him, only to be interrupted by Pappy, who crashes through the window. Centauria arrives to rescue Kimihito from Pappy and explains that the full moon is to blame their abnormal behavior since it heightens liminal emotions. However, it soon becomes clear that she is also affected. Kimihito realizes that they are not in control of themselves and he is in serious danger of being injured or killed through their amorous advances. Waking up the next morning, none of the three girls remember the events of the previous night. An injured Kimihito announces his plans to begin dating all three of them before collapsing unconscious on the floor. While waiting for dinner, Mia opens a pot on the stove and is attacked by a slime. Centauria explains that slimes are one of many species as yet unrecognized by human society. The slime then attacks again, and when Centauria's sword has no effect, both she and Kimihito end up covered in slime. When he goes to take a bath, she joins him after being unable to get clean. She conjectures that the slime was attacking them to get water. It then attacks them again in the bath. When Centauria slips and is knocked unconscious, the slime takes the form of a woman and begins imitating Kimihito's washing of Surya by washing him. Due to her body being liquid, however, she absorbs and almost drowns him before he escapes by diluting her in the tub. They debate what to do with her, and Pappy reveals that she has named her Sue. The girls point out that she is likely an illegal immigrant. Pappy overhears this and, thinking they mean to turn Sue in, flees with her. When Kimihito catches up with them, they meet up with a group of children who often play with Pappy. When one of the children is almost hit by a truck driven by the racist couple from the first episode, Sue saves her but falls off a bridge. Luckily, Kimihito gets under her with the crashed truck before she falls in the water. After that, he decides to let her stay at his house. They go home, only to find Smith there. A construction crew from the interspecies exchange security squad arrives while the girls are making a plan to hide Sue from Smith. The girls sneak out with Sue, only to realize that they have left Kimihito behind. They are forced to hide when security forces appear, seemingly pursuing them. Each of the three girls somehow get wet, causing them all to be assaulted by a dehydrated Sue. Meanwhile, Kimihito is searching for them when he is hit by a girl in a runaway wheelchair, who introduces herself as Miro. When they arrive at the park, Miro is almost assaulted by Sue, but Kimihito catches her in a plastic bag. Arriving home, they thank Smith for building a room for Sue. However, she reveals that the room is not for Sue but for Miro, who is revealed to be a mermaid. Mia becomes jealous when her accidentally breaking Miro's wheelchair results in Kimihito having to carry the mermaid around the house. She unsuccessfully attempts to enlist Centaurea and Pappy's help in foiling the mermaid. When Kimihito knocks Miro into the pool to save her from a once again dehydrated Sue, Mia thinks Miro is making a romantic advance and dives in after them, almost drowning when the cold water makes her sluggish. Later, as Mia and Miro take a bath together, the mermaid reveals that she has no intention of attempting to woo Kimihito away from Mia. All mermaids want to experience a tragic love similar to the Little Mermaid. Centaurea and Pappy overhear this and believe that the two are plotting. While trying to learn to cook, Mia accidentally burns her hands on a hot pot. Attempting to console her, Kimihito learns that she is shedding and cannot do so properly with her hands bandaged. He agrees to help her shed, however, while attempting to shed the belly of her snake body. He accidentally touches a sensitive spot and she reflexively knocks him unconscious. To apologize, she makes him dinner. Later, when Kimihito comes home from shopping, Pappy announces that she is going to lay an egg, causing the other girls to leap to conclusions before being told that it is unfertilized. Keisuke then arrives at the house, claiming to be shooting a documentary on interspecies exchange. While touring the house, he causes various incidents, such as filming Miro when her swimsuit slips, groping Centaurea when she says she does not wear a bra, and taking Mia's shed skin. Miro then arrives to announce that Pappy is about to lay her egg. While Keisuke is filming Kimihito helping Pappy, Sue reads his mind, revealing his true intent of selling the egg and the footage. Kimihito distracts him with a store egg that he pretends is Pappy's and uses the opportunity to punch him unconscious. Pappy then lays her egg. Later, Mia accidentally cooks it after Pappy stores it in the refrigerator. At the end of the episode, Keisuke is seen berating an arachne for building webs everywhere. She then wraps him up in thread and states that she is interested in his story about Kimihito. The Orc Pioneer Foundation performs an armed takeover of a doujinshi store. After taking human hostages, they demand an increase in the amount of orc-related content appearing in erotic manga titles. Because of gaps in the provisions of the interspecies exchange bill, the police are unable to act. Smith claims that she can resolve the situation. Using their sense of smell, the orcs detect a female agent attempting to infiltrate the building and shoot her. The chief of police admits that he needs Smith's help. Meanwhile, the orcs find another girl hiding inside the store. While they struggle with her, the blinds are ripped from the store windows, allowing long-range sniper Minako to shoot the orcs' guns from a distant rooftop. Tanisha then breaks in to release the hostages. The agent who was shot earlier then reveals herself to be a zombie, Zumbina, while the other hostage turns out to be Doppel, a shapeshifter. They subdue and arrest the orcs. Later, Mon responds to an emergency call from the wrapped-up Keisuke, but the arachne escapes. Smith and the girls soon realize that Kimihito has been kidnapped by her. In a deserted warehouse, Kimihito wakes up bound and hanging upside down. The arachne introduces herself as Rachnara Arachnara and begins to torment him. She is surprised when he shows no signs of being repelled by her spider lower half. When Smith, the Mon squad, and the police arrive to arrest her, Kimihito mistakenly thinks they are there to arrest him for assaulting Keisuke, and Rachnara realizes that she likes him. With the situation resolved, Smith decides to transfer Rachnara into Kimihito's household. Rachnara settles in as a member of the Kirusu household. However, Mia and Saria, who do not trust her, are not so enthusiastic as Pappy, Sue, and Miro. Saria begins to stick very close to Kimihito, ostensibly protecting him from potentially embarrassing situations created by Rachnara. When Rachnara tries to seduce Kimihito in his bedroom, Saria rescues him and flees with him into the city streets. The male from the racist couple and his gang begin harassing Kimihito and Saria, but Rachnara makes a timely appearance and rescues the two. She then comes to an understanding with Saria, and Saria realizes that Rachnara can be trusted. Later, Kimihito comes down with a bad cold, and Ms. Smith immediately puts him in quarantine in his bedroom, ordering the other girls to keep away from him, fearing a possible pandemic. She states that she will care for Kimihito, but almost immediately conks out. The girls decide to take matters into their own hands, realizing that Sue is the only one who can come into contact with Kimihito without becoming sick. Mia, Pappy, Saria, and Miro coach her in different ways of taking care of him. With her telepathic ability, Sue learns that Kimihito caught his cold in a rainstorm while out looking for her, and that he is tired, dehydrated, and his throat is hurting him. Sue then proceeds to breastfeed Kimihito, which ultimately proves successful. Kimihito recovers completely, but Ms. Smith winds up catching his cold. Smith calls up the Mon for help. Unwilling to help her, they use the same pandemic excuse she made earlier. The girls are shocked when it appears that Kimihito is going on a date with Ms. Smith. Maya, Pappy, Saria, Miro and Sue immediately begin following them. First to a maid cafe where Miro disguises herself as one of the maids, using Sue as a uniform, then to an arcade where Pappy is disguised as a cosplayer, then to an ice cream truck where Mia and Saria impersonate servers, but they fail each time. Finally, Mia follows Kimihito and Ms. Smith to a love hotel, where she meets up with Ratchnera. Ratchnera tries to sneak into Ms. Smith and Kimihito's room but is hindered by Mia, causing them to be grabbed by the Mon squad. Ms. Smith explains that Kimihito had received a threatening letter from someone named D, and their date was actually a ploy to lure the culprit out. Since they failed to do so, Ms. Smith asks all the girls to go on dates with Kimihito. Kimihito's first date is with Mia. They go to an aquarium where Miro is treated like royalty. Upset that Kimihito seems to be paying more attention to Miro, Mia storms off, only to bump into a reptilian liminal, a dragonute named Draco, who takes her out on a boat where he attempts to sexually assault her. Kimihito rescues Mia and inadvertently exposes Draco as actually being a female. While Draco did not write the letter, Ms. Smith arrests her for being out without her host family. Kimihito's second date involves an outdoor barbecue with Pappy and Sue. However, the barbecue is interrupted by a giant tree kaiju that seems to know Pappy, and grabs both her and Kimihito. Pappy recognizes her as Kiai, a dryad she had once rescued. Kiai, who has been poisoned by the illegally dumped waste, is on a rampage with a grudge against all humans and stomps Sumbina into the ground. Sue grows to a giant size and battles Kiai to save Kimihito and Pappy. She tells them that the only way to stop Kiai may be to extract the waste from her body. Kimihito does this by sucking on her breast. With Kiai calmed and restored to her normal size, Ms. Smith offers her a new host family, but she decides to remain in the forest as long as Pappy and Sue can visit her. The third date is with Saria, who is going all out to protect Kimihito. Monako, the Mon member shadowing this date and already completely flustered by Saria's intensity, is completely blindsided by Lilith, a devil, who looks like a child but is actually an adult who enjoys pulling pranks on people. Lilith turns her hypnotic tricks on Saria who, because of earlier incidents, is feeling inadequate as Kimihito's servant. The prank is interrupted by a large and angry wild boar that attacks her. Kimihito manages to distract it and Saria subdues it, and Kimihito reassures Saria that he trusts her and has done so from the beginning. Saria's confidence is restored and she is put in charge of salad making. But Lilith, who tried her tricks on Ratchnera, is caught and severely punished by the Arach, who learns that Lilith is not D either. Frustrated because of their repeated failure to uncover the mysterious D, who has sent a second and more threatening letter, the Mon members decide to take matters into their own hands and have Kimihito date each of them in one day. First, Tanisha nearly kills Kimihito by dragging him off to different shops, including a dress shop where even the largest size proves too small for her. Kimihito reveals that he can expertly alter normal clothing to fit liminals, given that he's done it a lot with Mia's clothing. Next, Zumbina drags Kimihito off to a zombie film. Later, when her hand comes off and he uses his sewing skills to reattach it, she is impressed, but in order to tease him, she deliberately detaches a breast and gets him to sew it back on as well. The last date is with a very self-conscious Monako, who becomes flustered by his being able to look her straight in the eye. The date is interrupted by Monako spotting a shadowy figure following them, and all three Mon girls team up to apprehend the stalker, who is indeed D but revealed to be Doppel, who sent the first letter as a joke. Kimihito soon finds out that someone else sent the second letter when a scythe is pressed against his throat by a mysterious girl with blue skin dressed in black. Later that evening, the girls are shocked when Kimihito brings home a headless girl, freaking out Mia. Kimihito, Saria, Pappy, Miro, and a reluctant Mia search the nearby park where the head rolled into. They locate the head, which starts talking to Kimihito, admitting that she sent the second letter. She also asks him to restore her to her body. The conversation is interrupted by the jumpy police officer, who freaks out upon seeing Kimihito holding the head. Thanks to some unexpected and unintentional help from Pappy, the gang gets away and returns home with the head. Once the body and head are restored to each other, the girl reveals herself as a Dullahan, and that she has come to claim Kimihito, who is allegedly on the verge of death. To prevent the Dullahan from collecting Kimihito's soul, the girls decide to take him away from her as far as possible. but their attempts only cause him more injuries. Rachna appears with the Dullahan, claiming that if she is really a reaper of souls, then there is nothing they can do to prevent Kimihito's death. When Mia decides to die along with Kimihito, claiming that she cannot bear losing him, Kimihito decides to stop running away and face his imminent death. To everybody's surprise, however, nothing happens. Back at home, Kimihito and the girls discover from Ms. Smith that the Dullahan's name is Lala, and she is not a real reaper of souls at all, having run away from several host families where she previously lived. Ms. Smith lets Lala live with Kimihito and the others by her request. When questioned about how he saw through Lala's lies, Kimihito answers that he simply realized that she has a late case of 8th grader syndrome. Some time later, Kimihito realizes that due to the massive food bill caused by his liminal guests, he is in major financial trouble, and after Mia's latest attempt at cooking ends up a total disaster, there is no more food in the house. He then sets out grocery shopping with Surya, Pappy, Miro, and Sue, and the monster girl's sympathy with the local vendors earn them plenty of merchandise with special discounts. To obtain some extra vegetables, Kimihito and Sue visit Kai, who guides them to an area with edible plants, and Kimihito learns that Sue has the ability to differentiate between the edible and poisonous ones just by tasting them. On the way back home, Draco attacks Kimihito, but Sue defends him with the poison she absorbed from the plant tasting. Once home, Kimihito prepares dinner for the girls, but Ms. Smith and the girls from Mon suddenly appear to dine with them as well, completely wiping out the house's food supply once again. Kimihito is in despair, but Smith explains that the interspecies program will reimburse him for all the girls' food expenses. Kimihito asks Smith why she had not told him this sooner, to which she replies she forgot.